For this video, we are going to continue in our discussion about graphing transformation of exponential function. To start, let's sketch the graph of y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to x and y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to x. So, from our previous video or discussions, y is equal to 2 raised to x. As you can observe, nagkaroon tayo ng a value. Or yung 3 and 0.4, nag-add tayo. From our y is equal to b raised to x, nagkaroon tayo ng a value sa harapan ng ating exponential expression. So, anong magiging changes or magiging transformations sa graph ng ating y is equal to b raised to x? So, to do that, let's first complete our table. So, let's fill out or let's find the y coordinates for the function y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to x and y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to x. For this case, madali nating masosolve yung values ng ating y coordinates for y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to x. Kasi, provided na yung pinaka-value ng ating 2 raised to x. So, let's start with 3 times 2 raised to x. Particularly, let's have y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to negative 3. And 2 raised to negative 3 is equal to 0.125. So, the answer is equal to 0.3 times 0.125 is equal to 3.75. Next, y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to negative 2. So, you will have 3 times 0.25 which is equal to 0.75. Next, y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to negative 1 equal to 3 times 2 raised to negative 1 is equal to 0.5 which is equal to 1.5. Next, let's have 3 times 2 raised to 0. 2 raised to 0 is equal to 3 times 1 which is equal to positive 3. Next, you have 3 times 2 raised to 1 and 2 raised to 1 is equal to 2. So, we have 3 times 2 which is equal to positive 6. Next, y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to positive 2 and 2 raised to positive 2 is equal to 4. 3 times 4 equal to 12. Lastly, y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to positive 3 and 2 raised to positive 3 is equal to 8. So, 3 times 8 is equal to positive 24. Next, let's solve for the y coordinates of the function y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to x. So, same lang din po kanina. Given naman na yung 2 raised to x natin. So, makukuha natin agad-agad yung ating values or yung ating y coordinates. So, let's start with y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to negative 3 and 2 raised to negative 3 is equal to 0.125. So, we will have 0.4 times 0.125 which is equal to 0.05. Next, let's have 0.4 times 2 raised to negative 2 and 2 raised to negative 2 is equal to 0.25. So, therefore, 0.25 times 0.4 equals siya sa 0.1. Next, we have y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to negative 1 and 2 raised to negative 1 is equal to 0.5. So, 0.4 times 0.5 is equal to 0.2. Next, y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to 0 and 2 raised to 0 is equal to 1. So, you will have 0.4 times 1 equal to positive 0.4 or 0.4. Next, we have 0.4 times 2 raised to 1 and 2 raised to 1 is equal to 2. So, 2 times 0.4 is equal to 0.8. Next, 0.4 times 2 raised to 2. So, 2 raised to 2 is equal to positive 4. So, 4 times 0.4 is 1.6. And lastly, y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to 3. And 2 raised to 3 is equal to 8. So, we have 8 times 0.4 which is equal to 3.2. Ayan. So, we have now completed our table. Now, let's plot these points and see kung ano yung magiging transformation or anong magiging itsura ng kanilang graph with respect to your y is equal to 2 raised to x. So, ayan po ang graph ng ating y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to x and y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to x. And here is the table of values of the functions. So, kung titingnan po natin yung kanilang mga graph with respect to our y is equal to 2 raised to x, mapapansin po natin for y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to x that as our x increases or approach to positive infinity, ganito po yung naging behavior ng ating y values. While on the other hand, sa ating y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to x, with respect to your y is equal to 2 raised to x, mapapansin mo na as your x increases, ayan, nagiging iba yung behavior niya sa ating y values. So, most likely, syempre, mag-iba yung behavior niya kasi nga po, we multiply 3 times for this equation or for this function, yung ating 2 raised to x and 0.4 naman sa ating 2 raised to x. So, nagkaroon siya ng shifting or nag-move yung iyong graph. However, hindi po siya nag-move with respect to your x to negative infinity. So, same pa rin po yung naging behavior ng iyong graph as it goes to negative infinity. Now, let's try to answer the following questions. So, first, what are the y-intercept of all three graphs? So, for us to easily identify the y-intercept using the table, titingin lang po tayo dun sa value ng ating y when our x is equal to 0. So, obviously, the y-intercept of our 2 raised to x is 0, 1 or 1. Then, the y-intercept of y is equal to 2 raised to x is 3, and the y-intercept of y is equal to 0.4 times 2 raised to x is 0.4. So, in points, lagay natin, yun ay 0, 1, 0, 3, and 0, 0.4. Okay, next tayo, what are the asymptote of all three graphs? So, obviously, just by looking at the graph, you can conclude that the graph approaches but never touch your x-axis, or particularly, that is a horizontal asymptote which is y is equal to 0. So, meron tayong asymptote, horizontal asymptote, x-axis, or y is equal to 0. So, meron po ba tayong vertical asymptote? So, obviously, we are dealing with exponential function. So, therefore, there is no vertical asymptote. Next, let's identify the domain of all the graph and the range of the graphs. So, for the domain, so dahil nga po wala tayong vertical asymptote, so we can say that our domain is from negative infinity to positive infinity, or our domain is the set of real numbers. And for our range naman, ang ating horizontal asymptote kanina was identified as line y is equal to 0. So, from there, we can conclude that the range of our three graphs are 0, positive infinity, or y, such that y is an element of a real number wherein y is greater than 0. The transformation that happens to your graph when you multiply a value or a constant a to your original form y is equal to b raised to x is what you call vertical stretching or shrinking. So sabi daw po dito, let a be greater than 0, be a constant. Ayan. Then, the graph of y is equal to a times f of x can be obtained by multiplying the y coordinates of each points on the graph of y equals to f of x by a. So, kanina, to solve for the y coordinates of y is equal to 3 times 2 raised to x, we just simply multiply the 3 to our values of 2 raised to x. Ganun din po, to solve for the y coordinates of this function, we multiply 0.4 to the values of 2 raised to x. So this effect is vertical stretching or shrinking. So the effect is a vertical stretching if your a is greater than 1. And nagkakaroon naman siya ng vertical shrinking when your a is between 0 and 1 for the graph of y is equal to f of x. So with respect to our graph y is equal to f of x, when our a, for this case, is a is greater than 1 or 3 greater than 1, so nagkaroon siya ng tinatawag nating vertical stretching. So nagkaroon siya ng stretching dito sa graph na to. Then, for this graph naman, wherein ang ating A is between 0 and 1. So, what happens to the graph is nagkaroon siya ng vertical shrinking with respect to our y is equal to f of x graph. So, that ends our discussion regarding the second transformation that could happen to your graph of exponential function. So, let's continue to discuss another example of transformation that could happen to your exponential functions.